Hello and welcome everyone to this new Slidesgo webinar. My name is Rocío. I am marketing team leader at Slidesgo, and I'll be hosting today's session, which is a very special one because you are going to be the protagonist. Today, one of our design experts is going to audit live some of the presentations you sent. So stay tuned and see if it's the one you sent. And don't worry if you didn't send any, because you'll get a lot of useful tips that you can put into practice for your next presentations. Remember that you can leave your questions in the Q&A section, and we will answer them at the end of the session. So let's start now. Now it's time to welcome our wonderful art director, Carmen González. Hello, welcome. And
hello, everyone. Hi. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, so we are all watching the screen, right? So as Rocío said, I'm art director at Slidesgo, and my job basically is to check presentation, review them, and try to help our designers to go through their task, which is basically to do the presentation in the right way, bearing in mind like all the aspects that we are actually going to go through in this webinar. So we are going to talk about how to create effective presentations, also the concepts that we are going to be evaluating during the webinar. We are going to do the audits, and then I'm going to give you a few tips. So we are going to talk about how to create effective presentations, but this doesn't mean that these concepts are not useful for presentation that they are already done. So this is something that it's going to be very helpful as well if you are using one of our presentations. So without further ado, let's get started. And we are going to go through the first point, which is effective presentations. So our main question here would be, what should we focus when doing a presentation? So it's very easy, right? The first of all would be that we need to communicate our ideas. And to do this, we are going to do it through 4 different points. The first of all would be about the concept. We need to be very clear with the concept we are going to communicate with our viewers. Because if the concept is not ready or is not understandable, then our presentation is not going to be good enough. So the concept is the base of the presentation, and which is in the end the most important. But how we can build the concept of our presentation? So we can use colors. A good color palette means having a good contrast and a good way of communicate the concept that we are going to go through. So imagine that we are doing an environment presentation. What colors would we choose? I would personally choose green because it's the main colors that you can think about when we think about when we see the environment. So the trees are green, the grass is green, but maybe we can also incorporate blue because it's the color of the sky and it's the color of rivers, sea, and all the water, basically. But I wouldn't be using red, for instance, because it's not a color that would be useful for this concept that we are going to talk to. So color is very important when talking about the concept as well. So we need to be very clear, and we need to be very clear about the color we are going to use when doing the presentation. As well, we need to be very aware of the hierarchy of the presentation. This means that the content needs to be very well organized. If we have this slide, for example, we can see how our title is much bigger than the other text that we have. Subtitles here are a little bit smaller, and then the body text is much smaller. So this means that the context is very hierarchy. The ideas are very well organized because I know what I have to, I know how to go through. So the first, I read the title, then I read subtitles, and then I read the text. So that was hierarchy means basically. And in the end, we have design. Design is something that makes everything possible. So the design will be helping us to understand the concept that we are going to go through our presentation. So basically, we need to think about these concepts when building a presentation. But as well, when we have one presentation that we are changing, we need to keep in mind these concepts as well. So basically, to start a presentation or to start thinking about building our content in a presentation, have a few specific steps. So first of all, as I was saying, we are going to focus on the content. We need to be very clear and very well structured. The presentation needs to be balanced. We need to know if the content that we are trying to present is going to go to kids from 4 years old, or maybe for people from 40 years old, or even for maybe teenagers. So the content needs to be very specified, and we need to know how we're going to present it. So after we know how the content we are going to use, we need to choose an aesthetic. It's very important, as I was saying earlier, that we need to think about the content, because it's not the same doing an environment presentation, as I was saying earlier, about about the environment for kids of 4 years old, that for teenagers in their, I don't know, maybe 15 years old or 16, because the aesthetic is going to change completely. If I'm doing it for kids of 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe the presentation needs to be more colorful, the style should be very naive, but if I'm doing it for people of 17, they need to be more grown up. So the aesthetic is very, very important as well for our presentation. I need to be focused on our viewer. Then the color palette is going to also help us. So when we have the content and the aesthetic clear, then we choose the color palette. And in the end, it's time to incorporate all this content and the design in just one presentation. So now we have this concept actually ready. We are going to talk about the ones that we are going to be evaluating when doing the presentation. So as I'm repeating myself a lot because this is very important, but we need to focus on the content that we are going to teach. We are going to focus in the contrast. That means fonts, that means colors, that means like all together, and we need to have a good contrast, because if we are doing a presentation, specifically if we are doing it for kids in a class, we need to keep in mind that we will have people in the back. And if we don't have a good contrast, they are not going to be able to read it. Then we need to have a harmony. There's a necessity of having a balance between colors and the decoration, but also with the content. So this is very important as well. And then in the end, we are going to be evaluating the decoration. With decoration, which should we choose? How we're going to use it, where we can find it, and all these things. So let's go with the audits. First of all, I'm going to go through this presentation. I've added the pink stars, so I know to the specific slides that I need to go through. So this is one of the presentations that one of our users have sent us. It's based on a presentation from our website, and I may say that they have used the presentation really well. They have respected the color palette, so as you can see, everything looks very harmonic. It looks great. The font seems to be very readable, although we are going to go through that in a few minutes. The design, it's great. I mean, we can say that they have used it just right, okay? But what if we want to do an upgrade? What we can upgrade with this presentation? Because I can see that in some slides, there are a lot of text. The text doesn't have the same sizes. I can see some decoration, like for instance, this one that is not working with the presentation. I can also see that in here, they have tried to do something with similar to the decoration, but they weren't able to do it, so they choose this way. Also, they have added some content here, but the content, it's very not in the same style. So how can we also add some content that it's not from the style of our presentation and make them right into it? So I will go through some of the slides so you can see the concept more clearly. So as I was saying earlier, font is something very important for us. in the end, when we have a presentation, what we usually do is that we create our titles and subtitles in the same type of font. And sometimes, or most of the time, that font usually is more different, that's more attractive, it gives more interest to the viewer. And then the one from the body text, which is the one that the user have to read, it's more plain, because it will help us to read it. If we have text like this, where we have too many lines, or the, as you can see, the text is like very tight, it's going to create some spaces, and it's not going to be as easy to read as we have it maybe 4 lines. As well, in this slide, the decoration is taking too many places, and maybe it's not that useful. If I'm doing a presentation and I know that I have to add a picture and it's a very important picture, then I would say, okay, I'm making the picture bigger because it's very useful. I'm talking about that. I need that picture to see. But in this time, we are talking about decoration. So we don't really need that decoration to be that big. So if I want to have this slide more useful for our actual user, what I would do is that I would make this smaller. I'm going to put it like over there so it doesn't make any noise to me. Then I would make this. And then if you can see, these spaces like are very big. So maybe, I don't know if they have actually added some spaces, or the text was going funny. So it's very easy to read right now, but maybe we can see if it's in 32. Maybe we can try into 30, and we can make the text box a bit small, and also can go this way. Okay, so this is a good way to resolve the design that we have in the above slide, but maybe what we can actually do as well is to change the text to the one that the presentation is using for the body text. And then we can make it bigger. So these are like 2 different things that we can do to organize the text in a better way. So right now, if you can see, I'm going to center to the page. So right now you can see that I actually have the text bigger than in this one, because in this one is at 32 and here I have it in 34. The text, it's more catching my eye. I have my decoration as well. I can actually change this. And what I can actually do as well is I can put this text a little bit darker, because I think that this text is a little bit light right now. So as you can see, this one is going to be more useful and more readable than this one, because the content is more organized. So the same happens with this slide. So what happens to me with this slide is that the picture is not that really on the vibe of the presentation. So sometimes I understand that it can be very hard when we have some presentations and we have content that we need to add, but we are not sure and we don't really know what to add. So basically, if I go to the original presentation, I have plenty of, it's this one. So if I go to the original presentation, I will find over here, I will find alternative resources that I can add to my presentation and would be the same style. So I would choose, I think there's one picture over here that can be very useful as well about the topic. So this one. So maybe I can take this picture, not even this one, but try to choose pictures that are more look-alike the topic we are going to go through. You can visit our website and you can see all of the content that we have. So what I would do here is I would take out this. This is just an example of how to change the content and the pictures to be more reliable with the topic we are going to go through. So this is very basic. So now this looks more aligned with the topic. But what what can we do with the text as the one we have it earlier is kind of the same. So as I was saying earlier, we are going to try to use some body text that it's more plain because it's more readable in the end. Because this type of fonts, it's more difficult to read, at least when we are using it in a presentation. So then we would use the same as we were using before. Maybe we can make this a little bit small because we don't need it actually that big. And for this, as you can see here, there are like a huge spaces. I think it's because they have tried to go to enter, and so it's not looking in the right way. So then I would go to the left, and now it looks quite more organized. And if I need to have the text much bigger because the information is more relevant, then I would do it like they have done in this slide. So we don't really need the picture if it's not necessary, but we can see how the one that we have here looks much better than here. Not only because of the picture, it also because of the text. So that's something that happens as well here with the text. Here it's happening what I was saying earlier, that they have like click to enter. So we have like a lot of space. Oh, I'm doing it in the proper one. Okay, you see, so, but right now this is very small. So as we were saying, we are going to change it and we are going to put it like much bigger. So you see how this one changed. Okay. And so this is about the text, how we can put the text, but what if we have more than one paragraph? What if we have this? The problem I have with this slide is that I see that the content is very tight and I don't see it properly. As I was saying earlier, there are more than 7 lines, so it's going to be very hard to read. So what I would do in this slide, I'm going to play with it a little bit. So I get that this left part is like the main idea. So what I'm going to do is going to put this information right at the top. And I'm going to use the font I was using earlier. And I'm going to align it to the left. I'm going to make this much smaller. And so I know that this is the main idea. And then I'm going to add these 2 concepts that I have over here. If you can see, I don't really have changed font size, but when I use the font that it's meant to be, you can see how this slide is more balanced. So something that we actually play a lot as well is that to have the same font size in the slide and also in the whole presentation, because it's something that's going to be easier for everyone to read. So I'm going to use, maybe 15. I'm going to put it to the top so everything looks ordered. And then I'm going to align it to the top. Okay, and the same goes with this. I'm going to align the same way. And I'm going to take out these lines because they are not like giving anything special. They are taking more place instead of giving something to the presentation. So I think we can use, we can do it this way. So I'm going to try, I'm trying to put everything like more balanced, more together. And so you can see that in this way, the slide will be more organized than this one. Or at least I can see how the main idea is this one, and then I have the 2 points. This is about hierarchy that we were talking earlier. A few tips that can be helpful for you is to have everything aligned. So it's something that it will also help you to the hierarchy, to the composition, but also to your eye, okay? So as when you select like all the boxes, you can see how the boxes have different sizes. Normally we have them in all of our presentations in the same size. So here, for instance, we can actually align them. This one, okay, this is a group. That's something that I've been, I think that this has been taken from another place. So we align everything. It looks more organized this way. So something that also can be helpful if you're using connectors, try to plug them into the box. So this connector would, yes?
Yes, just one thing. They are asking if you can make the slide larger.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I like to go with the zoom out. Okay, thank you, Rocío. Okay, so as I was saying earlier, if you're working with connectors, it's better to use the connector attached to the main point of that we are going through. So in this case, we are going to attach it to the subtitle. I would use capitals in the first letter, so I know that I'm playing with the hierarchy as well. I'm going to ungroup this because it's not very useful when we are working to have groups. Maybe in the end, yes, but not right now. And so the same goes with this one, and the same goes with this one. And I'm going to show you something that we actually do in our infographics. And if you have been in previous webinars, we have teach this as well. But if you want to connect something to a place like this one where we don't have nothing to connect because this is actually a picture, you create a shape, you give them some transparency, and then you connect it. So this means that if you are moving this, like this body text, the edge is not going to move. So this is very handy when doing infographics. So I think it can be very helpful for you if you are using this type of content. Same with this one, what would happen the same as the slide that we were working on earlier. This one is much easier because we only need to maybe center this slide. So we can use this. And maybe we're gonna add some color. Maybe we can actually, what we can do is we can put all the box in a darker shade and then put the text in white. And what I see that it's something that it's more useful for the viewer is to have always the text aligned to the left when we have numbers or we have some kind of order, because the eye knows where to start. Because if we see, for example, in the first point, this first line is competing with the third one, so then the eye is not going to be very short. So as we know that we are watching it from a computer, it's not the same that watching it on the paper. So I would go with the left align. I would make these boxes at the same size, and I would try to use this font because I know that this font it's takes less space than the other one. The other one, as it has like all the decoration, like it's more, it's not that useful to use for this type of composition. So, and then I'm going to put it to the top, so all the text will be aligned at the same place. Okay, so this is going to be much easier to read than the previous one that we have, okay? So as you can see, it's more organized. The content, you can see the main points, is more hierarchy. We are using the same style. We are using the same font, but it looks much better, at least for someone that is watching it on the computer. And what can we do as well with composition like this one? So the problem that we have with this composition is that we have quite a few information for the slide. We are doing it online, so that means that we don't really need to use just one slide for all the content. So what I would personally do is that I'm going to take out this star from here, okay? So as you can see, like all the text looks very tight. I need to go make it a little bit smaller for just one thing. So I would take all this text. I'm going to have it over here. Okay, I'm going to remove all the excess, like all the text that goes with the subtitles. That doesn't mean that I'm going to delete them. I'm just going to order it in a different way. So we have all the content, but it's more organized. Because right now you can barely see what the content is. So I'm going to take this. This is right now a kind of title. So maybe we need to put this maybe 30 or maybe 28. I would usually use the one that it's been used here. So it's 30 in bold. Okay. So I would put 30 in bold. Okay. And I have copied previously the content that I wanted to add. So I have copied as well. I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to use a much simple font, the one I was using earlier. You see how the aspect changed completely. And you may be wondering, okay, but you have lost the description. No, I haven't, because what I'm going to do here right now is that I'm going to separate my content in a few slides. So I can actually give the user or the viewer the information in the right way. So it's understandable and easy to read, easy to understand. We can play a bit with the bold fonts. We could do this one for the following points. So this one is in bold, and this one is something that is very useful. I have learned it from a few weeks ago, is to use this tool, the paint format. So I have this selected, I go to the paint format, and then I select what I want to paint, kind of. And so I have the content already for my slide. So basically, this way, imagine just that I have done like all of them, okay? So in this way, instead of having all this information in just one slide, I would have first the main idea, and then I will go through the points. For here goes the same as the previous slides that we were talking to. We will be doing the same type of design and playing the same way. I wanted to show you as well that we have, for example, this slide where the users wanted to create something more similar to the decoration that we have. So what if you don't have the tools to edit the vectors, because I know it can be very, very hard to do sometimes. So we can do a few things. So what we can do, maybe if you don't want to play too much around with this, we can put like one rectangle, or maybe we can use some shapes. I invite you to play with the shapes that we have over here. Here, this is a shape of like a plain paper. So maybe we can use like a paper. Okay, this one. This is from the previous slide. So we can have our paper and we can, I don't know, we can play with this. I think this one is more suitable than this one. Maybe we can add some decoration, but what I would actually do is that I would take one of the proper decoration of the presentation. I would try to paste it. Then I would ungroup it and I would delete the things that I don't need. Sorry, I'm very far. So I would take all these lines that I don't actually need them. I would try to delete things that are not useful for what I want to show.
Carmen?
Yes?
Sorry to hurt you again.
No, it's okay. Tell me.
They are saying they don't understand the paint feature. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about it.
Yes, for sure. So, okay, I'm going to do it with this slide, okay? So imagine that we have this. I'm going to use like a completely different font so you can actually see it, okay? Imagine that we have these three columns. I'm going to make them nicer so it's more easy to see. Okay, so we have these three columns, but I want the subtitles to be the same as this one, and we want the body text to be the same as this one. Okay, I want the two top ones to be the same as the bottom one. So firstly, I would select the text that I want the style to be in the end. So as I want my other two columns to be as this one, I'm going to select them, select the text. Then I'm going to hit paint format. And as you can see, you can see because it makes like, there's like a very small, I can make it bigger because the icon is going to be the same, but there's an icon of paint brush or paint pro. So then as with this, I would select the text I want to convert and it will change. And so the same goes with this one. I select this, you don't even have to select like all of the text, you need to be just inside. And so I select that, hit the paint format, and the same. And so with the last one, I have selected the one that I want, the one I want to change in the end, like the style, and change. And the same goes with the subtitle. It's very easy. It's the same for Excel and the same for Word. It works kind of the same. But it's something very useful when you have to change a lot of text from the same slides, and it's very handy. Okay, so as I was saying before, if we want to add the style to our presentation, we can use illustration. So I was deleting the things that I don't need because I decided I don't need that. I would group this again. I would delete this. And then I can move this. I can make this bigger because it wasn't bigger enough. Make this big again. Okay, so now instead of having this this type of resource that is not working with the style of our presentation, we have used the resources that we have to create our main content. And the last thing I wanted to show you in the presentation, which is something that it's going to be, we are going to go through in the following one, because we are going to review 2 of them, is that when we have some examples like these ones, when we want to add content that it's not from the style that we have in our current presentation, but we need to add it because any specific concept or something that we need to use, what we can do is just to use a blank slide. I would change the color to white. I would delete for sure the title, and maybe I can add just a slide with the title just before, and I would take all the space for this. Because in the end, if you watch it like this, you can barely see, but if you have it this way, then you can. And so maybe we have, we can have another section header over here saying examples. And so then we will have 1 page per each example. So it will be easier. In the end, we need to look for content that it's easier for the user to see. So this is about this presentation. The great thing about our presentation is that sometimes you can find like matching presentations like this one, that it has its own infographic presentation. So it means that we have more content with the same style. But as well, as I was saying at the beginning, we always leave 1 slide where we have alternative resources. So now we are going to go through the second one. This style is completely different, but you can see how the things I'm going to explain over here are kind of the same. So here, same as I was talking earlier, I have added a picture that, or I have added something that it's not in the same style. What can we do to create the same style? We can play with fonts. Yes, here we have like just 1 word saying priority. Also, I find that this slide is not the more accurate, because I can see that the decoration is getting in through the text, so that might affect to the hierarchy, but also to the content in the end. So for this slide, I would actually change the layout. That's something that you can do with just hitting layout button. Maybe I can use one that has already their body, their text box, or just one that only has the only title, so we can play with it. But I think I'm going to use this one, which is title and text, because I have the text on the right side. Of course, if you change the layout, sometimes the text can do something that is very unexpected, but I just need to copy this text. I paste it here. This, please, I recommend you to be in Do Not Out of It, because it's going to be easier. And as you can see, the text, it is at 60, so it's not going to be showing because it's very big. So I will delete this one. That is the one I don't need. Maybe I can delete this box because I'm not using it. And I have my text more like this one, but I don't have all the decoration that it's actually being a problem to understand and to see everything properly. And so, as we were saying, what can we do? The priority picture. We were saying that it's just a word. We can create our own words. In the end, this is a program that it's very easy to use. So I'm going to insert here a word art because we don't usually use them in our presentations, but it's something that for decoration can be useful for you. So basically here I'm going to type priority. I'm going to use enter, and then I have my word. And then I'm going to change the font to this one, which looks more kind of the same style. So this is something that can be very helpful to integrate your ideas into the design that we are working. So because of this red is not working with the presentation, it looks very bulky, very bold. It doesn't go with the pastel colors that we are using here. So I would take this out. I would put here, I think, orange with no line in the edge. I'm going to create one box similar to the one that the image has with the orange. I'm going to put it like white bold, like this. And then I want to change the edge to this one, which it looks more accurate to that one. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm going to align it to be perfect. And I'm going to put this in white and move it to the back. Okay, and now I'm going to group it and I'm going to make it smaller. So the great thing about doing this with word art, it's that I can make the text smaller or bigger depending on what I decide. And it's not like a box text that if I do this, it doesn't change the size of the font. So that's the main thing what I'm doing. And so I'm trying to imitate the style of the picture. So we are going to add a white box in the back. And then I can add some decoration to my slide. So I can add my stars. Maybe I can add, let's see if there's something editable here. I think this one. So I can take this shape and I can put it underneath. And so this style is more accurate with the one that we have in our presentation. So this is something very easy to do and something that you can incorporate to your presentations to have more everything in the same style. So this example is one that is very similar to the ones that we were talking in the earlier presentation. And the first one, I mean, right now I don't see the hierarchy over in this presentation, mainly because the title is very small and the text that I have is quite big. So what I would try to do is that I would maybe put it at 22. I would align everything to the left. You know that I like to have everything aligned to the left because it's, as I can say, I was saying earlier, the order that we have to read is from left to right. So it's going to help your students or the people that you are using. They're using the presentation or reading the presentation is going to be easier. So here I'm going to put all the boxes at the same size. I know that they are at the same size because some blue lines appear when you change the sizes. And I'm going to align them distribute them, sorry, in the right way. And so this one looks much, much more organized than the one before. And so what can we do with the title? We can make it bigger. This font, it's very funny because as it's like kind of hand-drawn, you need to put it very big to see actually in a good size. So, but in the end, you can tell the difference between this and this because your eye goes with the content. And so also I wanted to show you as well in this presentation a few things for like in this slide, we were talking about hierarchy. So earlier with the other presentation, also with this one, when I see this presentation, I don't really see the order or if the facts are at the same order, if one is more important than the other. I don't see like I don't know what to look at when I'm in this presentation, in this specific slide. So what I would actually do to actually impact the person that is watching it, firstly, I would change the layout to one that doesn't have that many noise. I would choose something like this. So then this, I can put it like this. And then what I would do is that I would add some boxes to put the text inside. I'm also going to change the body font to the one that it's been used previously. The same with not being bold because in bold doesn't work out. And I'm going to put it all at the same size, which is going to be 20. This one goes with this one. And so we need to have all the boxes at the same size. It's very important to work with boxes at the same size so then we can align them and we can play with them and everything is going to look very neat and tight. If you are wondering how to look, how to see if the sizes are the same or not, you can go to format option. And so there you will have the proper size and you can actually either type the size or change it manually. So I know that it's 301. So this is 301. And then my height is, I'm going to use this one, 0.88 and 0.88. Okay, so this one, oh, it's in capitals. Okay, so now we have our boxes all the same size. I'm going to align all the text to the center. I'm going to align my boxes and distribute them. And I'm going to play with color because in the end, this presentation has tons of colors. So I'm going to use some boxes like this one. I'm going to use the color of the presentation. I'm going to add a border and I'm going to use a border with the same style that the presentation has. So it looks nicer. I duplicate it. I only need to duplicate the box, sorry. I duplicate the box using Control Alt and Shift. And change the color. Here I need to change the font color. And here I change the color as well. Maybe I can use the yellow one and the black text. Okay, of course you can align it to be the same way. So everything when it's organized looks much, much better, always. So if you see that it's very boring, this slide looks very boring compared to this one because the font is more normal. what we can do is that we can add some decoration from this slide. So if you have downloaded the presentation from our website, for sure, if you have, I recommend you also to have the copy of the original one, because then what you can do is to go to your original presentation and you can take the illustrations that you want and you don't lose it. So let's copy it. Yeah, I haven't copied, sorry. So copy. And then I can play with the decoration much more than earlier. And so in this way, my slide, it's creative, but it's also understandable much more than this one. And so, as I was saying earlier, with the content that we need to add that it's not the same style, for this one, for example, what we can do is just to put the background in white, make our content bigger. And so there's a huge difference between this, that it's very dark with the background, and this one. So these are the aspects that we need to look for when we are doing a presentation. These two presentations were actually very accurate, but they have a few things that we need to fix. That's the ones that I've been going through the presentation. So as we have done the audits, I'm going to go through the main things that we've been working on. So first of all, I will say the resources, the sizes of the resources, but also the use of them. So that's my decoration compete with the content, same as we have it on the first example on the left, or the one that we have on the right, that the priority box is quite big and the text is very small, and the decoration is actually in the middle of the text. Or is the decoration the same style as my presentation? The same that happens on the second example. So we need to ask ourselves those questions when doing a presentation. You can see the difference between the one I have done, the one that we had, and the one that I have done, and the same goes with the following. We changed completely. So no, the decoration right now, just take the place it should. So it's very accurate. And so for the second question, yes, I have my decoration with the same style and the same vibe of my presentation, with the changes that we have done. Then fonts. We have here the examples that we were doing earlier. So do I see a difference between the body text and the titles? That's something that is going to help us for the hierarchy. And then we need to wonder, is the font of my body text easy to read? As I was saying earlier, it's much easier if we use font sans serif, which means that doesn't have like all the decoration in the end of the types. And so for these questions, you can see the examples that I have done, or the ones that I have, for example, in the first one. This looks more accurate than the one earlier, and the one we have on the right, this way looks more organized. So do I see a difference now? Yes, for sure, I can see. And so it's my body text easy to read? Yes, for sure. I mean, I have no doubt right now with these changes. Then with composition, we will ask the same questions as we were saying earlier. Is my content well structured? My composition will help also to the hierarchy to the information. And as well, will my audience understand the order of the elements? So basically, this is something that is very helpful for our audience to understand. So in the end, we are doing presentation for the audience or for the viewers. So we have these two examples, and once we change them, you can see how the order is more accurate, more organized, and our viewer is going to see it and read it and understand it in the way it should. And so it happens as well with the other example that we have here, that it's more accurate. So then, yes, my text is very organized, it's very easy to read, and for sure my audience will understand the main idea that I'm trying to explain with my presentation. And so it goes everything by hand with hierarchy. In the main theme, hierarchy will help us to go through the whole presentation and to understand everything in the right way. So as well, we need to ask ourselves, can I see the order briefly? As you can see on the left example, we can't. There's too much text. Sometimes it happens when we have that many text. What we do is that we go to the next slide. And so do I understand which concept is more important? Sometimes I like the one from the right, the concept is not, the concepts are all the same, but as they are placed in a very different way, we don't really know. So we need to use the hierarchy to understand better the concept. So for example, in the left one you've seen, and in the right one, we would do it this way. So it's more playful as well. So yes, I can see everything very clear. And yes, it's very well organized and ordered. And so I would like you to give you some tips to either use our presentations or create your own. So this is the last part of the webinar. And so what I was saying earlier is that we need to focus on what's important. We need to ask ourselves, what's the main purpose of our presentation? What we need to tell the audience or tell our viewers that it's very important to understand from our presentation. So as I was saying earlier, if we have the decoration very big and the content very small, my audience is not going to understand what I'm trying to say. So it's better to give the importance that we need to at each time. So we need to ask ourselves, what's the important thing of our presentation? Then the aesthetic is very important. So I recommend you to use our alternative resources and also try to check if you download one presentation from our website that have an infographic presentation, because it can be very helpful for you to create a more complete presentation. Also, you can try to download presentations that are from another specific topic that may have decoration that is useful for yours. But as well, I invite you to use Flaticon, which is a platform where you can find plenty of icons and you can search about everything, and you will find many resources. But also, I recommend you to use Freebie, where we take all our resources from. Then we need to keep in mind that sometimes less is more. So you can see how less text can be more useful for you to read, but also to add to have a better composition and less decoration is very useful for the content. Then I recommend you to use different master slides. Sometimes the one that you are using, because it's the one that have been used in the presentation in that specific slide, maybe it's not working with you because the decoration is not in the right place, like the one we were showing you before, where the lines were over the text. So I invite you to go to the layout, sorry, I don't just remember the word. So to display, to the tag, to displays. And so you can choose the actual master that you want. You can see that we have plenty of them. So this is something that can be very useful. And also I invite you to use animations and transitions to your presentation, because it's not the same to have the presentation just as it is, that adding like some content, like for instance in this one, where you can see the content while I'm going to go through it. You can see. So this is something that it will be more fun, it will be more useful, and it will catch the eye of your audience. So this is more fun from my point of view. And so also I would take these questions in mind when doing a presentation, or in the end, I would ask myself if the resources I write, are they taking too much space? Are the elements being simplified? Is the information the main thing? Or a few extra concepts like, do I have added an animation? or is it interactive, or just try to spice it up a little bit more with the presentation, because that's when you can tell the difference. Also, we have left a general checklist with some tips that we usually use from our presentations, like using sans serif and basic fonts, try not to use text that's much smaller than 14, try not to use shadows, or try not to use very long paragraphs. This is something that you can use when you finish one presentation, because it's going to be very useful. And so I would like you to ask if you have any question or something that I can help with. Rocío, you will have to let me know because I can't see the questions.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Carmen. It was very interesting. And we have two questions, actually. One is from Patricia from LA. She read somewhere that they should use 36-point font for group use. What do you think?
For? Can you
for the font, 36 point.
It's okay. We usually use that size for titles. From 30 to 45, we can say we can use it for titles. You can see, let's check it on this presentation, for instance. So in this one, for example, is 35. So for titles are great. Then for subtitles, we usually use from 20 to 28 maybe. And for body text, none less than 14. That's when you have like the good hierarchy, like in these slides.
Okay, great. And the other one was from Barbara. She asked, how do you move a box behind or in front of a text?
Oh, for sure. So I'm going to do it over here, okay? So I'm going to use, let's do a new slide with boxes. It's something that it's going to be useful for actually everything around Google Slides, not just for text. So just imagine that we have here our three circles. So if you click one and then you go to Control and you select one of the arrows to the bottom arrow, it will go down one level, and the same. If you go to the one that is up, it will go to the first layer, maybe we can say. But as well, you can actually, okay, let's put it this way. You can go do right click, and here order, you can see this is what I was saying, like Control and the arrows. So if you hit Control Shift and the bottom arrow, it goes to the last layer. I mean, this program doesn't have layers, but it's kind of the same. So this one will go to the back and this one, it go backwards. And so here, same. So you go Control to the top or to the bottom. And this is something that it's useful. It's the same for body text, as you can see. Okay, so it goes up or to the bottom.
Okay. Great. I think we don't have any more questions. So thank you very much for attending the webinar. Thank you, Carmen, for the interesting webinar that you have taught us. And remember that we will be sending the replay so that you can watch it all over again and just check all the tips that Carmen shared. And see you in the next time. Have a great afternoon, great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.